Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bosch. The number of clean diesel models in North America will double by 2014. Bosch Clean Diesel. Good, clean, fun. Bridgestone. Your journey, our passion. And by Dow Automotive Systems. Improving durability and increasing design flexibility with Betamate structural adhesives at dowbetamate.com.
Hallelujah! It is Friday, April 20th. I'm John McElroy, and here is Autoline Daily. Automakers around the world are scrambling to find other sources for a resin to make brake and fuel lines, and it looks like they may have found a few. As we reported earlier this week, a fire at a supplier company in Germany threatened to slow global automotive production. But in the U.S. at least, DuPont and a company called Invista say they have some capacity they can devote to making that resin. But it's unclear if that's going to be enough. In Japan, automakers are looking at using alternative resins. Analysts warn there is a looming shortage, and we'll probably know in just a couple of weeks how serious this is. Honda is going to appeal that small claims case in California in which the company was hit with a settlement of less than $10,000. Doesn't sound like much for a $100 billion corporation, does it? But it's the precedent that terrifies the company. Honda was sued by Heather Peters, the owner of a Honda Civic Hybrid, who says it came nowhere near its promised 50 miles per gallon. She opted out of a class action lawsuit in which the plaintiffs would only get a couple of $100 and a coupon to buy a new Honda if they won. But if all the plaintiffs did what Heather did, it could cost Honda nearly $2 billion, and that's why the company is appealing that decision. Mercedes-Benz is going to tweak the way it names its vehicles to make them less confusing. Sort of. According to Automobile, Mercedes will still keep letter names, but from now on, G is for SUVs and crossovers, C is for coupes and convertibles, and SL is for sports cars. But the upcoming four-door coupe based on the architecture from the A and B classes will no longer be badged CLC. That's because the second C refers to model range, so under the new scheme, it will be CLA. See? It's a whole lot simpler. And if you're still scratching your head like I am, click the link in today's show notes to try and make sense of it for yourself. The Beijing Auto Show kicks off next weekend. To get a head start on the festivities, CHERY revealed an SUV concept called the TX. Supposedly, this was designed in-house, and if you ask me, it looks pretty good. The TX is powered by a turbocharged, direct-injection gasoline engine mated to a CVT. Now for some exotic car news from Italy. First up, Alfa Romeo. It just trademarked the 4C name in the U.S., where it hasn't sold cars for nearly 20 years. Fiat Chrysler CEO Sergio Marchionne said the 4C will go on sale in the New World by the end of 2013, all part of his master plan to double annual sales to around 400,000 units by 2014. Meanwhile, Ferrari has its eye on South Korea. The country's economy is growing at a healthy clip, and there are a lot of customers who aspire to own supercars. After that, it wants to go to Vietnam, where the number of high net worth people jumped 33% in 2010. Ferraris are also red hot in other Asian markets, including Japan, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. And while we're on the subject of Italian cars, Lamborghini will finally debut its high-performance luxury crossover at next week's Beijing Auto Show. The company hasn't pre-released any official shots of the vehicle, but here's a possible rendition of what looks like an SUV with the front end of an Aventador. They're going to call it the Urus, which probably sounds better in Italian than it does in English. Hey, speaking of performance brands like Lambo and Porsche coming out with SUVs, is it possible they're making a horrible mistake? That is coming up next.
drivers who want to get the most out of their cars. It's Bridgestone or nothing.
On Autoline this week, my guests are analyst John Murphy from Merrill Lynch and Joe Phillipi from AutoTrends Consulting, as well as automobile and GQ columnist Jamie Kittman. One of the topics we cover is whether performance brands like Porsche and Lamborghini are making a mistake coming out with SUVs. Yes, they will make a lot of money right now, but could it hurt their brands in the long run? The analysts, how do you guys see that? Is this going into SUVs wrong for brands like Lamborghini and Porsche?
I think from my perspective, it is, to be honest with you. I mean, I looked at that monster Bentley SUV, and it's just like so over the top. I mean, clearly it's just an idea of where they want to go with it, but you know, some of the jewelry on the car, the way they trimmed it out, and the front end, even the back end for that matter, was just way over the top. One thing about the luxury market, at least as it relates to the U.S. market, my experience in the metropolitan area here is that it's very, very heavily driven by leasing. So you'll see, and I noticed in my neighborhood, you'll see someone driving a Range Rover that they've leased for 2 or 3 years, and oh, we did the Range Rover thing, now it's time to do the Cayenne thing, and then next year or 2 years from now, it'll be time to do an Evoque, if you will. So I characterize it as leasing promotes disloyalty to the brand. You know, certain people, they'll lease their Mercedes, whatever, S-Class or E-Class forever, but there's a whole cadre of particularly the younger people who love to try new things. So all they want to do is lease it. I've got a $700 a month car payment, as far as I'm concerned, for the rest of my life, and I'm just going to keep trying new things.
So, John, that's must put a real premium on constantly coming out with new product.
Yes, it certainly does. I mean, I think when we look what's going on in the industry, just to comment on the the luxury CUVs or SUVs, if you will. I mean, I think a lot of these companies are looking at using their current architectures, sort of souping them up a little bit to create these larger vehicles. The Explorer is off the same platform as the Flex and the Taurus, so Ford is doing that. Porsche is doing that. Lambo, I'm sure, is doing that as well. So there might be a real business case here. There's a question of staying true to the brand or making money. I think a lot of these companies might be a little bit more focused on making incremental profits off some of the investments that they've made already. So it's, you know, the enthusiasts might not be that happy with it. The guys who are the equity owners might be happy with it. So it's sort of a push and pull there on the profits versus the loyalty to the brand.
You can watch that entire show right now on our website at Autoline.tv, and check your local television listings because Autoline This Week is now seen in over 40 markets across the United States, as well as coast to coast in Canada. It's Friday, and you know what that means. Another roundabout is in the offing, and here's Craig Cole with all the details.
Quick question, what has the powertrain of the future, car-to-car communication, and the design of a Tupolev Tu-144? Well, it's the tractor-trailer of the future, and we'll tell you all about it tonight and some of the other unusual auto news bites of the week at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Roundabout. Our guests are Colin Bird from Cars.com and Christian Conover from Wheelspin.tv. You already know where to find Roundabout and tons of other great automotive content. It's all at Autoline.tv. And that wraps up another week's worth of Autoline Daily. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back here again on Monday.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.